I really am very enthusiastic about Gen Z coming up. They're asking questions. They're learning. They love to learn. They love to explore. They're the YouTube generation. It gets on there and figures out how to do something themselves. And they're starting in droves to come into the idea that working with my hands is a pathway to not only a quality of life and a debt-free start to life and a great career, but it is literally the pathway to entrepreneurship. Business ownership is a great way to go. So if you're a kid in high school right now that likes being outside, that likes working with their hands, that is okay. Parents should encourage that, not go like, put down the tool and sign up for college, because it's not the path for everyone.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Building a Better Business. Today our guest is Tim Raglin, the Chief Operating Officer and founding partner of Skillwork. If you haven't heard of Skillwork, they are America's premier skilled trades staffing agency based right here in Omaha, Nebraska. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here, Jake. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to a conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm very knowledgeable and intimate with Skillwork. You know, I've known you for over a decade, and Skillwork. So I've been able to watch Skillwork from the ground up as you guys built it, and you guys have built something phenomenal, which is why we wanted to have you as as one of our first guests, actually our first guest on Building a Better Business. And you guys have built something really phenomenal there, where you're essentially connecting outstanding skilled workers across the globe with companies across the U.S. as well who value them. So you're taking the skilled workers and you're marrying them with people who have a skilled worker shortage, and really being the staffing agency that connects the two, which I think is a brilliant model. And obviously you guys have done phenomenally well, but I would love to start off by just hearing what was the genesis of the business? Where did this idea come from? And kind of walk us through the early days of getting Skillwork off the ground.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and we are very excited about what's going on in our business here, and we'll maybe get a little bit about our core values and how we felt like we were called into this mission that we were on. But my partner and I, Brett Elliott, have known each other for a decade or more, and we actually got to know each other through a common interest and passion for seeing marriages thrive, and that brought us together. And as we were working in some of this counseling opportunity together through our church background that we knew each other, I remember distinctly we were engaged with this couple, myself, my wife, Brett and his wife, and before they came over, we'd spent like 3 nights together, and he just looked at me and he said, "What exactly do you do?" What do you do for your job, your day job? And we discovered we never really talked about it. I knew he ran a manufacturing facility. He was an owner, entrepreneur of I think he calls it pre-cooked bacon, but it's a whole with a microwave bacon.
Yeah.
Thank God for miracles.
Amen.
Microwave bacon. So he was on the front end of that, and he was running a business. And he just said, "Hey," I told him a little bit about what I did at the time. I was working at Union Pacific and my background. And kind of this focus I have in organizational structure, process, program management, all those sort of things that have to do with how sausage is made, so to speak. So we got together, we talked about it, and he said, "Hey, I feel like I am being really moved towards starting another business. You ever thought about that?" And I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have." At the time, I was working for a Fortune 150 company. I'd worked for a couple of those. My prior background. I was a naval officer. I did 25 years in the military, so obviously I learned a lot about planning and process and execution. Then a couple of corporate 150 companies, so I learned all about how that looks and works. And at the time, I was in a company that one you're familiar with, Jake, that was kind of headed down to the corporate path of losing a little track with their mission and focus. So it was the right time for me. So we got together and said, let's do something together. We felt like we were called to do that. Had no idea what it was going to be. We just knew it was going to be something. And it turns out our first couple of endeavors that we thought about, even putting business plans together, turned out to be not the thing. We were given some good advice to go back to the drawing table and consider something else. And really, Brett literally was sitting in his vehicle outside the office of somebody we had sought some counsel from, and he just got this epiphany that, hey, what we need to do is to solve this skilled trade shortage crisis in America. And I think we can apply the travel model that we know about here in Omaha, because the medical industry has used travel model. Let's apply that to the skilled trade, see if we can help fix that. He shared that with me, called me up right on the spot and said, what do you think of this? And I immediately, it resonated with me. And literally in the next week, I kind of laid out how we're going to do this internally. He kind of laid out how we're going to sell this and how we're going to get the money to get it started.
Yeah.
And by 2018, we went live, hired our first couple of employees, and had our first person in the field in early 2019. And we celebrated our 1 millionth hour build, and that means skill workers in the field last July, and we're now past our 6 years in the business and still growing. So
that's
a great
phenomenal.
journey.
Yeah. It's really, it's so interesting. You kind of married you've got the travel nursing model, which we know works because it's been around for a while, and nurses love it because they get to travel the world and they get short-term projects, but it's filling a need for hospitals and whatnot that have a shortage of nurses. So you take that sort of like proven out model and you marry it to nationwide. We've got a shortage of skilled workers, and you probably and sort of your hypothesis is that I bet that we can find some skilled tradesmen and women who want to continue to do what they love because they're a very passionate group of people for what they do as a profession, and they probably want to move around and see and explore the country a little bit more. I bet we can partner them with people who have a real need and real shortage short term and sort of be the broker between. So you guys sort of built this revolutionary model, and I imagine you're probably getting some competition. People are starting to catch on. They're starting to figure out what's in your secret sauce and competing, right?
Well, yeah, there's always the threat of competition, and people are taking notice, but we still feel like we've got we're kind of out ahead a little bit. We've got this opportunity because it is, even though there have been people providing temporary staff for manufacturing and construction for quite some time, we like to make it clear that we differentiate ourselves. We're not temp staff. We will augment your workforce with quality people. Our guys are our employees, are our W-2 employees, and we take really good care about them, of them. We find them and get them to their location. So, the number one secret to any business, you want to make it successful, have demand. Have somebody that wants to buy what you're offering. That's the secret sauce, is somebody willing to pay for it. And we've obviously, the demand's there. There's currently 4 million gap right now in skilled trades across a lot of different verticals, and particularly in the one we focus on, manufacturing, is about 1 million right now. So meaning there are 1 million jobs that need to be filled, and we're providing a small slice of that.
I love that. Well, one of the things I want to talk about is with every business, there are the ups and there are the downs, and I kind of want to dive into maybe an example of both. But let's maybe start with the down, the valley season. What was the hardest thing either you or the business had to overcome since you began? Was there ever like a valley where you said, boy, this is a tough one to work through, or problem, or maybe even proving out the concept that was difficult? Can you kind of walk us through, what was that moment, and how did you guys come out of it?
Yeah, I think, every startup goes through, how do we prove this out and get to a point where we're cash flowing? So that's a pretty common theme. But I'll share something that's probably a little bit more relevant in the season we're in right now, is that, if you study any kind of entrepreneur or startup that gets to the point where they make it past that magical 5-year mark and they begin to start growing, continue to grow, have sustained growth, the biggest challenge is the people that got us to that 5-year mark. Are they able to continue on with us? And that goes from our vendors to our internal staff to even some of our original clients, that the company outgrows them, the needs change, the pace changes. And so I think the biggest challenge for us is because we care so much about our people internally, I'll just
Yeah.
take it to that level, that there have been some that were with us for quite a while that, they just have not been able to, be a good fit for them or us as we head into this next phase.
Yeah.
So we're constantly having to look at, if we had to hire that position today, would that person, including me and my partner, would we be the ones that we would put there?
Yeah.
And that's a big challenge. I think a lot of companies fail to really look at that objectively. And, and natural growth, survival of the fittest, that takes care of some. But in some cases, we've had to be very, the accountability piece. Let me just call it that it's easy to talk about accountability and holding people accountable to KPIs and standards and expectations. It's great. It's easy to talk about, really hard to execute.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, those are real people, that you care about. But in order really to take your company from here to here, just the fact of the matter is that it's like the old merry-go-round at the playgrounds that they don't allow anymore at the elementary school. They used to spin them around, And you remember, Jake, and sometimes the bullies would spin it around really fast, and the kids would get thrown off the end. It's kind of like that. Business starts spinning, and if you're not close to the center of that and holding on, you can kind of get thrown out. So that's been a challenging thing because we care about everybody, and we're not going around looking to. By no means we were not headhunting our individual people here, but there have been a few, that changes we've made in the last this 6th year that have been tough.
Yeah. How do you approach that? I mean, that really is a tough thing to work through, not only as a founder or a leader of, hey, maybe the people that got us here aren't the people to take us to the next level, which is okay. I mean, I think Peter Thiel points that out in his book, 0 to 1. There are some people who are built and great at going from nothing to the ground floor. And there are some people who are not great at that, and they're better at, okay, there's a foundation here, and I can build it from here, and that's okay. How do you approach that, and not only sifting through that of who the right people are, but then how do you handle that with the people themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's if we're honest with ourselves, the identification of the people that are able to adjust and grow and meet expectations is pretty clear. We know it. Oftentimes, it's just the ability to actually follow through. So for us, it all starts with very clear expectations. That this is the requirement. Once you've been in business 5 years, you ought to very clearly understand your KPIs. KPIs is an old school thing.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is you need to have key performance indicators, what indicates, and keep KPIs, you don't need 1,000 of them. You need a handful.
Yeah.
But these are the ones that, the canary in the coal mine, if there's poisonous gas. So we look at those. We took a long time establishing them, and then we hold people. This is where you need to be. We're going to give you opportunity. We work really hard to develop our people. I think you know that, Jake. We invest heavily in developing our people. And if they're not able to meet that, again, plenty of ramp, plenty of opportunity. But a lot of times they self-select just because the expectations are something they don't feel comfortable with. And our other approach here, we've adopted a lot of agile methodology here in how we run our company. And agile methodology has a lot of things, short iterative cycles, but the thing I love about agile is it's very transparent. Everything everybody's doing across the organization is pretty transparent to everybody else, so you can't hide.
Yeah.
This is not a good place to hide. If you want to get by with being mediocre, not a good place. And we've set the expectation that we are a growth-minded company. And, we're not just let's get up to a certain value and then look for somebody to buy. We are very growth minded. And like you said, there are people that are, explorers, there are settlers, pioneers or settlers. And then so we're kind of we still think we're in the explorer stage, but we also need some people that are okay with settling.
Yeah. Well said. Well, let's go to the other side of that. So you got the valley, but let's go to the peak. What was the thing that maybe took your business to the next level? Like, was there a moment, maybe a problem or an opportunity or even a decision that was the catalyst for, like, hey, this thing is got some legs now, and we're at the hockey stick. We're we're heading in the upward trajectory now.
Yeah, I think it probably happened early on. We were trying to prove this model out because, again, it was new. Nobody was doing it. All we had was our ideas. The way we were doing it, we completely created ourselves, and which was, I think, that's an important thing. Don't try to copy everybody. You got to kind of do your own thing. But we were out there. We started to get a few customers. It looked like it was going to work. We didn't know whether it was just with dumb luck or what. But when we signed up the largest, without giving it away, one of the largest meat manufacturing producers in the world, and certainly in the United States. And they gave us the opportunity to put us in some of their facilities. And I mean, literally, they took a chance on us, I think, because they were just desperate. They needed help.
Yeah.
And we happen, my partner Brett is a lot of things, and one of the things he is really good at is he's probably one of the best sales guys I've ever met. You wouldn't know it if you met him because he's super low key, but somehow he builds rapport, and he convinced them to take a chance on us. So when we had this company that had 75 facilities around the country to put us in different, and we started traveling people to different places outside of our little neck of the woods.
Yeah.
It was like, holy mackerel. This thing actually might work. And then they started giving, other people. And then that became like, well, if we lose this client, we're toast because we had all our eggs. Oh yeah. Okay, exactly right. So when we got to where anymore, we still have them as a client, but they're like, oh yeah, we have that as well.
Yeah,
we had to get out of that concentration risk big time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What was the thing besides Brett being an excellent salesman? Do you feel like there was something that allowed you guys to close the deal and sort of show your value proposition in a way that allowed them to take a risk on you guys being such a new business? Was there some things that stand out besides Brett, being such a good salesman?
Well, I think that, getting an opportunity to try with a couple of places, they didn't really have anything to lose because it was a no risk. Our model still is no risk to them. Yeah. It's try before you buy. What we had to do, and I think this is the part that I really focused on, was how are we going to find the right guys that we could vet and test and make darn sure when we send somebody into this facility that has Skillwork, on their logo, that they're going to show up and be not just okay, they're going to have to equal or exceed their best guy.
Yeah.
And so we had to make sure that we vetted appropriately, and that once our guys got out there, that they really proved it by putting tools on equipment. And that then our reputation started getting built. And internally, one of our biggest core values here is we want to respect and value our skilled tradespeople and bring that back to our country. We believe that 100%. We take really good care of our skilled tradespeople, our workers. We call them skill workers. And they started telling their friends about, hey, this company's different. They take good care of you. They care about who you are. And, that just kind of became a groundswell. So we've had some of our skill workers now that have been with us 4 years, 12 contracts, wow. 6 different states. And, they're our biggest advocates.
Yeah, I love that. The 3 things that stood out to me in your answer there was, number 1, make the offers so good and so even risk-free that people would be dumb not to take you up on it. Number 2, over-deliver. I mean, like you said, you found the best people, and your desire was that they were going to be the best skilled worker on your customer staff. And then 3, find the best people and treat them well and keep them long-term, because they're going to be your best advocates in the long run. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you and I were taught in half a dozen business classes, but executing to that it's a little harder. And we every day here, and one thing we tell our clients is when they ask us, well, how come you guys are able to do this and we can't? we have our recruiters, we have HR staff, and I'm like, well, you're in small town Ohio. You're trying to find really highly skilled people, and the person doing that for your company is also looking for somebody to be our front door receptionist, somebody to be a security guy, somebody to be, production line workers. In what we're looking for the very best capable people that do this, and do it well, and we do it 24/7 every day, and we're great at it. I mean, we really are. And why wouldn't you? If I had I had to go see, not to share too much, this off track, but just it's a good example. Yesterday I had to go see a dermatologist, right?
Yeah.
Because my wife said, hey, you need to have that looked at. I'm like, well, I'm not going to go to the 24-hour emergency guy where there's a a PA in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to somebody who really knows what they're doing. And then if they find, hey, you got a real problem here, I am not about to go to somebody who's seeing a 6-year-old with a sore throat and then he's going to do surgery on me the next day.
Yeah.
You specialize. There's a reason for that.
Yep.
So that's what we did, and we've honed it down to a pretty fine point.
Yeah. Love that. Well, so I want to transition. We've talked about the past, how you guys got to where you are. I want to talk about the future and briefly just touch on what do you see as a leader in Skillwork? What do you see in the world today that one gives you excitement for your business, and then on the other side of that, what gives you angst about your business, or what's happening in the world today that has could have a potential significant positive or negative impact on what you guys are doing?
Well, what I'm excited about is that the current gap in skilled trades is 4 million, and by 2030 it's going to be 8 million.
Wow.
So, and by that time, the conservative projections is that that's about close to 700 billion in lost revenue for American manufacturing, and it's just not manufacturing; it's across all verticals. But I'm excited that we have a continued opportunity to help fill that gap.
Yeah.
And that means, we're going to have demand as long as we continue to deliver and do it at a competitive price. I'm excited about that. I mean, we're in election season right now. I'm not going to get political, but I'm just a business guy looking at landscape. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for the opportunity that we might have a change in attitude that might be a little bit more friendly towards, not big, huge business, not, conglomerate international, but American-based, traditional small businesses, that we have a posture, and I'm hopeful that we'll be moving in that direction, and that we have the opportunity to continue to thrive and live the American dream.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm anxious about is those very same things can also be not only an opportunity but a risk. Mm-hmm. If we can't find the folks that we need to drive manufacturing and construction in our country, then those things will be offshored again. Mm-hmm. They'll be outsourced to Mexico and South and Central America and other places where competitors like the Chinese are making inroads. So it's a real threat when we start boarding up manufacturing plants in this country. And I'm telling you, travel around the country, it's really positive for me. And I go to cities, and I'm always looking what sort of building is going on. When I went to Boston recently, and I saw tons of construction going on, I saw tons of revitalization, manufacturing. That gives me a lot of hope, and we need to continue doing that. We're only going to thrive as a country as long as we have our ability to create, produce products and services in our country. Mm-hmm. COVID showed us the risk of outsourcing all that. So, so that's something I'm both concerned about and bullish toward.
So, and I imagine if your concern is, is finding quality skilled workers to fill the obviously growing demand, I imagine you guys are doing something to not only to source those people, but also to encourage people to, hey, if you're not like a person who's cut to go to college, and that's okay, here's another path forward in the skilled trades. I imagine you guys are fostering those relationships and fostering that growth of, well, let's start communicating to people that there's a great opportunity to not only start working immediately out of high school and probably save on your college expenses, but also start making a great wage right out of high school. I bet you guys are doing a lot to even build up call it your bench of skilled workers. Is that safe to assume?
100%. The biggest challenge is that the number of baby boomers that have all this knowledge and experience in traditional skilled trades are retiring at a rate that exceeds the replacement of those workers. That goes across a lot of different fields, but absolutely for what we would consider skilled trades.
Yeah.
But I'm really encouraged by Gen Z. That's this latest new generation. No knock, because you're probably part of the millennial generation,
yeah,
Jake.
Just barely got in.
Yeah. But that generation, for a lot of reasons were, challenged in this way. And a lot of it were, they were sold hook, line, and sinker on that the only way to, validation in this culture is that you have a college degree. And multiple college degrees, and it doesn't matter what kind of debt you get into, and even though that may not even get you a job working at Starbucks, keep doing that. And by the way, spend all your time playing video games in front of a computer, not reading, not making yourself better. The latest generation, I'm not one of these old guys standing on his lawn saying, get off my lawn. I really am very enthusiastic about Gen Z coming up. They're asking questions, they're learning, they love to learn, they love to explore. They're the YouTube generation. It gets on there and figures out how to do something themselves.
Yeah.
And they're starting in droves to come into the idea that working with my hands is a pathway to not only a quality of life and a debt-free start to life and a great career, but it is literally the pathway to entrepreneurship. Business ownership is a great way to go. So if you're a kid in high school right now that likes being outside, that likes working with their hands, that is okay. Parents should encourage that, not go like, put down the tool and sign up for college, because it's not the path for everyone. It is for some. But, if you have an aptitude for that, take a summer job working with an HVAC company or plumbing or construction company. You can parlay that into some experience. You can start out working for somebody else, then go independent, get your own truck, get maybe a couple of guys working for you, add another truck, add 3 trucks, get a little brick and mortar. Next thing you know, and it's happening all over, you're 28 years old, 30 years old, and you're a business owner. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
What a great pathway.
Making a
killing
killing.
It.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they're driving around like, man, where'd you get that super cool truck that I can't afford? Oh, yeah,
I paid cash for it.
Exactly. So, and our friends' kids, I just talked to one this morning. 24-year-old, still living at home, doesn't have a finished degree, although multiple years in college, and it just communicated to their parents this morning that it's probably going to be at least till I'm 30 before I can move out. And I'm like, fail. Wow. That's a big fail.
Yeah.
So I think my generation needs to be telling your generation, Jake, hey, it's okay to encourage your kids to be an entrepreneur, learn how to do something with your hands, learn a craft that you can actually barter and do something with.
100% agree with that. Tim, as we wrap up, I just have one question to kind of close us off here. Every entrepreneur, when they start their business, typically has an end in mind. Like they've got a goal they're attaining for, or something that they're shooting for. What's the long-term goal for Skillwork, and how, if you're willing to share it, does that fit into your personal goals as well?
Yeah, so our goal for Skillwork is that we want to leave a legacy. Personally, that's also what drives me. I want to leave a legacy for my family. Our number one core values, we honor God in everything we do here at Skillwork. We're not ashamed of that. We lead with that. Personally, it drives me, all my decisions. I want to leave a legacy for my family that goes beyond material goods. And at Skillwork, ironically, my partner and I are having these conversations right now about succession planning in the future. And we want Skillwork to be around for the long haul, for the people that have invested in it, for the dream. We want it to continue on past our, usefulness to be in here driving it every day. But our goal is to see this continue to thrive, to give opportunity. I was just sharing this morning again. One of our guys that works with us here has been with us 5 years. Started with us fresh out of college, maybe 2 years out of college. I mean, he was just didn't know anything, right?
Yeah.
He was enthusiastic, but immature in a lot of ways, like
Yeah.
most of us are. Now he's grown through his time here. He leads a team as one of our managers. He got married last year, maybe a year and a half ago. He and his wife just closed on their first house, nice house. And I look at that and I'm like, that is the dream for that family, and Skillwork is the avenue being used to do that.
I love that.
And that's being repeated over and over again with our guys in the field. And to me, that is awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So,
that makes your day, no matter how tough the day is to hear those success stories, either from your customers or from your skilled workers or even your internal team, just to be able to see the impact made for the glory of God, that skill work and your hard work and you and Brett's hard work to get it launched and keep it sustained.
Yep.
Got to be the best thing at the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah. Love it. Well, Tim, if people want to get a hold of you, because you really have two customers. You got the skilled workers who you're constantly trying to reach out to find quality skilled workers who want to get out in the field and get around the U.S. But you also have customers who are looking for skilled workers who are short-staffed. How do both parties find you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole other interesting story you could tell sometime. We have a domain. You can go to Skillwork. And it's not plural. Some people call it Skillworks, but it is skillwork.com, SKILL work.com. Everything you need to get to us is there. Reach out. I'd love a conversation personally. Our email addresses here are all our first last name at skillwork.com. So tim.raglin, skillwork.com. I'll connect you to somebody. We're passionate about skilled trades and about helping our clients and customers and people looking for an opportunity. So we're always open for that. But you can get to us through our website. It's probably the easiest.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, I'll make sure we'll have everything in the show notes for you guys if you do want to get hold of Tim and his team. If you do find yourself with a shortage of skilled workers, or if you are a skilled worker, if you happen to be on a business podcast and you're a skilled worker, kudos to you. We can get you connected to Skillwork as well. But either way, Tim, thank you so much for joining us today on the show and being for our first episode.
Yeah, well, I hope this doesn't shut you down prematurely, but I appreciate being on, Jay. Thank you.
Not at all. All right. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Take care.